To really master the guitar, you need to understand scales, and probably the most popular one for guitarists is the pentatonic scale, but most people don't really understand why this scale is so important, why it's so useful. So whether you're new to the guitar or if you've been playing for years, in this video you're going to see how to play different versions of the pentatonic scale and why the pentatonic scale is especially important. In other words, why it's especially good to have in your bag of tricks as a musician. So to begin, looking at the guitar from the player's perspective, from your view, looking down as you hold the instrument, assuming you're right-handed, if we start on this C note, 5th string, 3rd fret, and playing the pentatonic major scale, rising up the strings, we get C, D, E, G, A, C, or intervals 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8 in the key of C. You can play this pattern moving up or down, and it just sounds nice. And because all of these notes repeat on the fretboard, you can play this same C major pentatonic scale in various positions on the guitar, and it's all the same pattern, just in different octaves. Now just hearing it, you can tell why the major pentatonic scale is so popular. It's very easy on the ears, it's sonically pleasing. There's more to its popularity than just because it sounds good, which we'll look at in a second here. But before we get into the music theory behind the major pentatonic scale, there's another scale you need to know called the minor pentatonic scale, which has its own unique sound. And the way you play it is if you take the major pentatonic, like our example in the key of C, and instead of playing notes C, D, E, G, A, C, you hit notes C, E flat, F, G, B flat, C, or intervals 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 8, we have the minor pentatonic scale. That again, you can play in various positions on the fretboard, which I'll play through here really quick so you get a feel for what I mean. Both the major and minor pentatonic scales are classic. You hear them all the time in music, often as the basis for guitar solos and song riffs that are derived from either of these scale patterns. Or a song's melody might also arise from variations on a pentatonic scale because it just sounds so good. But while most guitarists just stop there, memorizing how to play these pentatonic scales in all of the different keys on the instrument, very few people go on to ask the more important question of why exactly does a pentatonic scale sound so nice? I mean, it's one thing to know how to play the patterns, but it's another to truly understand how these scales work. So with that in mind, what then is it about the pentatonic scale that makes it classic, a must-have for any musician and songwriter? And once we answer this, by the end of the video, you'll be able to use the pentatonic scales in more interesting and creative ways to take your music to the next level. So to answer the question, let's take our C major pentatonic scale, for example, and notice the name pentatonic. The term penta means 5, and tonic here means tones or notes, because this scale has 5 unique notes. C, D, E, G, A, and then the C note repeats, but it's just 5 notes, hence the name. And really it's just a simplified version of the major scale, also known as a heptatonic scale, or 7-note scale, since hep means 7, but missing a couple of notes to make it a smaller 5-note pattern. So it goes from being a 7-note heptatonic scale to a 5-note pentatonic scale. The major scale also sounds pleasing and is especially popular and prevalent itself. And since the pentatonic scale is a subset of the major scale, this is partly why it's also so sonically pleasing. But there's more to it than that. To show you what I mean, let's take the C major scale, the 7-note heptatonic scale, and wrap it into a loop, or what we call pitch space, for a moment, where we're looking at the 12 basic notes of music in a circle like this, and focusing on the 7 notes of C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. As a pattern, these notes sound good together. They form a compatible harmonic set. And the reason they're compatible is because all of the notes in this group are related to one another in the circle of fifths, the pattern in music that explains all note relationships. To see this connection, all we have to do is rotate these 12 notes into the circle of fifths formation. And suddenly you can see how the 7 notes of the major scale are actually neighbors in the circle of fifths, all sitting side by side because they're harmonically linked. And that's why in the major scale pattern, pattern, they sound good together as a set because they belong together in the circle of fifths. They're connected as the colors highlight. Where you can see, for example, that C is closely related to notes F and G, D is related to notes G and A, and so on. Now, to play the pentatonic scale, we just drop two of the notes, which in this example are notes F and B, to get. In the circle of fifths, these are the two notes on the outer edge of our harmonic grouping here. So the pentatonic scale keeps the 5 innermost notes of the major scale to form this pattern, which you could say is almost like a purified or more concentrated form of the major scale, keeping only a subset of especially closely related notes. Also, by removing these two notes, which are tritones of each other, or dissonant polar opposites, the pentatonic scale maximizes its consonant harmonic quality, which is why it really sounds so good. So on the guitar, when we take the major scale, like this C major, and refine it to these 5 notes, we have a nice pentatonic. This is cool, but still only one reason the pentatonic scale is awesome. Both the major pentatonic and minor pentatonic scales are powerful for another reason, and that's because they're compatible with all of the different modes in a key, making pentatonic scales the universal go-to when it comes to playing guitar solos. In music, there are 7 primary modes in each key. Each mode, has its own unique sound or vibe. And these various modes are the basis of virtually all styles of music today. Locrian is so rare that we'll ignore it for now. Pretty much every song you ever hear is written using one of these modes. Whether it's one of what are called the major modes, Ionian, Lydian, or Mixolydian, or one of the minor modes, Dorian, Phrygian, or Aeolian. What's so cool about these patterns is that they fit with all of these modes. That is, the major pentatonic is compatible with the major modes, and the minor pentatonic works with any of the minor modes. For example, if we take C Ionian, or C major, and the C major pentatonic, and overlay them together, it's a match. Because, as you saw before, this pentatonic is a subset of the major scale. So even if a song is in the full Ionian mode with a melody and chords that use all of these notes, the C major pentatonic scale maps directly onto this mode and sounds good as the foundation of a guitar solo or melodic accompaniment. Likewise, if you take the C Lydian mode, or notes C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, and again overlay the C major pentatonic scale, we again have a match because notes C, D, E, G, A, C are a subset of this pattern too. So again, when you play the pentatonic scale over this pattern, it still sounds right. And the same is also true with the Mixolydian mode. This C Mixolydian pattern includes notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, which is also compatible with the C major pentatonic scale. Both patterns share the same common notes of C, D, E, G, A, C. In this way, the pentatonic scale is mode agnostic. It's the chameleon of musical patterns because it can blend into a variety of environments and sound right at home. That's the major pentatonic scale, and the same chameleon nature also applies to the minor pentatonic scale, which is compatible with all of the minor modes. The minor pentatonic maps directly onto the notes of the Dorian mode, as well as the Phrygian mode, and the Aeolian mode. In all of these modes, the match is also perfect. So no matter what mode you're in, whether it's major or minor, there's also a pentatonic scale you can play that sounds great. To look at this another way, if we reduce each mode to a table format like this, so you can see the interval formula for each mode, and we split them into groups of major and minor modes, the major pentatonic scale clearly aligns with these modes, and the minor pentatonic scale aligns with these. Because each pentatonic scale is a subset of the larger heptatonic modes, they're more versatile in terms of when and where you can use them, which is beautiful. But while the major and minor pentatonic scales work well in almost any song, they can sound sort of bland on their own, since the notes you omit in each mode to form the pentatonic patterns are really the most interesting ones after all, since they are what give all of the modes their distinct flavors. But once you know how to play the pentatonic scales, and more importantly, understand the theory behind how they work, you are unstoppable. So thank you for watching. Please let the algorithm know if you liked it. There's also a link in the video notes to all of these diagrams for you to explore at your own pace, and I'll see you in the next video.